Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butz, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
And also, I just want to say this, that people need to understand that it's an industry of food, but there's so much. There are food scientists, there are food consultants, there are stylists. There's so much. Like, it's not just about cooking because you think Mukasechic is making money. So, you know, the next moment you open an Instagram page and you're cooking. There's so much to it. Like, there's food health and safety. There is so much. And it's about time that we start reading and researching and understanding what we want to go into. And I think that when we understand that, we will all choose which path. And in the end, we all help each other, you know.
Hi everyone, you're listening to Item 13 podcast and I'm your host, Yom Tego. Every week, we'll delve into the world of African food, including chefs, curators, and bloggers. I hope you enjoy it. This week, I speak to Gyebi of Mukasechic. Jay identifies as a culinary entrepreneur with food blogging and styling, catering, a food bank, and food events under her entrepreneurship umbrella. A Mandela Washington Fellow, she's written food articles for most Ghanaian magazines and has been featured on CNN Africa and Buzzfeed. Our conversation in Accra covered everything from why she started and stopped her restaurant business, her food event company, and her journey to becoming a Mandela Washington Fellow. I've been following Jay's story for years now, and I think there's a lot to learn from her experiences. Here's the show. Welcome to Item 13, Jay. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
I'm excited for us to walk through your entire food journey. It's a long journey and a lot of different and interesting things you've done. So I think this will be very interesting for everyone that's listening.
Yeah.
So let's start with talking about you. Who's Jay? Where did you grow up? What were the things that influenced you?
Well, I grew, as long as I can remember, I think I grew up at between Medina and Adenta. Okay. We stayed at Medina because my parents were trying to finish up their house and we had to stay at my uncle's for a couple of months. But those were some of the most amazing times of my life.
Really? Amazing because?
Amazing because I think that was when I realized that I was actually a human being. So it's funny. It's funny because I don't remember anything from about 6 years. Okay. I just remember that I was 6 years and that's it. I don't remember anything after that. Before that, exactly. So I just remember that I was just 6 and it was fun because I was the only girl. Okay. And I had cousins, male cousins obviously, and I had a brother then. And I would do anything they would do. Yeah. So I played football.
Okay, so do you consider yourself a tomboy?
Yes, I have. Yes, I still am. I still have a bit of it in me.
Okay.
So those who really study me see it. But I was a complete tomboy. Played games, Nintendo, Mortal Kombat, everything to the T. We moved to Adenta. I was still a tomboy, obviously. Yeah. Adenta was a bit more serious because then we had just started going to serious school. Like when you start school. So it was like learn and pass your grades. It was fun. And I was never the child to cook.
Okay.
Let me say this properly. I was never the girl child to cook.
Okay.
Like, never.
So
ever.
you were not the one who was like...
I won't even lie. Ever. I didn't play with Congo things.
No.
I didn't know.
Okay.
If you send me, I even get angry.
So then how did you end up... That's a good question. Then how did you end up in the world of food?
I can't honestly give you a straightforward answer. I think that I have it in my genes. My father was an amazing cook.
That is actually quite surprising for a Ghanaian family, right?
Yeah.
That the father... I mean, maybe there are men that can cook well, but they just don't. They just choose not to. I don't know. But that's interesting that you say that.
Yeah, my father was an amazing cook. I mean, I lived with my father and my stepmother, who was also a real cook. She was like a real caterer. But I remember my father being... For me, cooking with my stepmother was more like a chore.
Okay.
There was nothing that I learned because it was always an experience. Right. But my father, it was much more easier. And I think even at that age, he introduced me to a lot of texture and a lot of spices and lots of food from different countries because they used to travel out a lot. Okay. And I saw him he that's why I love shortcuts, and I think I got that from my father is a shortcut man. He would do anything, any shortcut thing. He would try any interesting recipe. He travels and he learns. So I think I had it, but I never really was interested until I was in my 20s and I was bored at work, looking for a presentation, a picture for a presentation. I came across a blog by Fran. Okay. So if you know Fran I think Fran should be one of the oldest food bloggers.
Oh, I know Fran.
Yes, Fran. Yeah. And I said, oh my God, bring to me if I'm right. And I said, why is there a white lady documenting Ghanaian food? I didn't understand. So I went back to her blog and I read her introduction, and they talked about her friendship with Mrs. Beta of Flair. And I said, I want to learn this. I want to learn how to cook. Okay. So I started. What I did wrong in the beginning was it opened my eyes to a lot of food bloggers in America and wherever it is. So I started learning from them and cooking the same thing.
Okay, so you're cooking American,
all kinds of continental food, but never local dishes. Because for me, I thought, I live in this country.
Right.
If I have to learn, I have to learn something that.
But that's interesting because your interest in food was piqued by somebody that was doing Ghanaian food.
Yes.
And then you sort of started by going the opposite way.
Yes. So I went the opposite way, and then a couple of months later, I said to myself, this is not working. It was good for me, but I said, this is not working because you can't make pizza as better as an Italian.
Right.
Because they learn it from home.
Yeah.
And they all have cultural arts and takeouts. So no Ghanaian, no foreigner should make Ghanaian food better than me. So I have to make what I know how to make. So then I figured out that, you weren't cooking at home. But then when I started, I remembered all the lessons. And, from my father doing this and my stepmom and that's how the interest started. That's how it started.
So let's talk about the name. How did you pick the name? And for those who are listening, what does it mean?
Oh my God, every time I get this question, I laugh because there's no dramatic story to this. I think that I say this to my friends all the time. Most people know me. I am very creative with names. I'm blessed with names.
Oh, okay.
I have a thing with names. So basically, when I started, my first restaurant was called She Brews.
Oh, really?
Which meant I wanted a coffee shop, so which meant a lady who brews coffee. So that was my first one. And then it turned to Mukasechic. There wasn't any any dramatic process, nothing. It was just that at that time, I was working and I was at my peak. I was young and exciting. At the same time, I wanted to do something Ghanaian. I said, okay, how do we put the two together? Yeah. And I wanted a local name, but I wanted my reason for even choosing a local name was that I wanted people outside Ghana who didn't understand what I was saying to ask me.
That's the question.
I wanted to be a topic starter to ask me, what does it mean?
Okay.
So basically, Mukase, I'm an Akan, so Mukase means kitchen. And cheek obviously means me and my team and everybody I come into contact with are cheek. So basically.
So then you started with food blogging.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about that. Why did you? We talked a little bit about the background of how you got into that, but then you sort of, and not embarrassed, but you sort of exploded onto the scene. Like I think. And I don't know how fast your trajectory was in terms of getting followers and like the creativity of the things you were doing. Like, how did that all happen? For someone that's watching, it happened really quickly.
Really quickly, yes.
How did that happen from your perspective?
I think that when I started, to be honest, there weren't people who were doing that, who were documenting food. And it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, yes. But I was quickly introduced to Instagram.
Okay.
I was on Facebook. I was very, vibrant on Facebook. And I used to write notes and all that. And I was quickly introduced to Instagram. And because of my marketing and advertising background, I quickly noticed, yes. I have a marketing background. I have an advertising background. I have a theater background. So I was quickly able to figure out which of the social media platform works for what. So I use what I have learned. And even till now, I always say that I never use my potentials 100%. Like I just use a little bit of what I've learned. So I think that people quickly came to notice, oh, there's someone who posts food. And it wasn't even as fancy as some of our pictures are these days. It was just old phone.
And it was because of the novelty of it. I guess nobody was putting our food out there.
Nobody was putting our food out there, and people were just excited, and they could relate. I mean, I was young. I am still young. And people could just relate. And, so many women or so many girls like me wanted to learn how to make maybe fish stew or something, and I would document everything and my failures. So people could relate to me. And I think I used a few of my marketing skills. And I grew my page organically. It wasn't, people were doing promotions at that time, but who had money to go and promote? Maybe you had the money, but that was not what your money was going to be used for. So I organically started and I grew it to what it is today. And I know that, a lot of people do say that it was so sudden. Well, even a couple of days ago, I catered for someone's party, and there was a vendor who was there. He said, how did you get, how? And I don't even try and let me explain. But I think that honestly, over the years, I've come to also understand that it is a marketing platform. Like all our social media platforms are supposed to be for marketing one thing or another.
Right.
So whatever you choose to market on it, you must find how each of them relate to the sixth sense, and people will be able to relate to you.
So you've said a lot of things that I have so many questions.
Oh,
and
my
remember
goodness.
all the things. So I want to ask you one, because you mentioned the catering, how you jumped from food blogging to actually starting to cook for people. I also want to touch on the idea of social media and using it for sales versus, because I had this conversation 2 days ago with the chef where we're talking about how people use it more for self-esteem and the likes and the followers, and they haven't really figured out how to use it as a medium for business sales, right? So that's also basically something you said that I also want to touch on. Let's start with those two.
Okay.
Let's start with social media and then we'll go into catering and then talk about your catering business.
Okay, cool. So most of the interviews I've granted, I always say that I started a social media restaurant. That was how I sold my food. Every picture was as real as it gets, people's plates, and I posted and people will call and people will order for the same thing. Like I said before, it's a marketing platform, so you must decide on what to use it for. I have gone through, and I think we'll talk about that later, I have gone through that stage. I've gone through and come out of that stage where social media is about likes, it's about comments, it's about praises, and even I have gone through it all and come out of it. And I'm actually at a point of my life, my personal life and my career, where I do not wake up to social media likes. I don't wake up to social media whatever it is. Let me give you an example. I got a call from a fellow caterer that I've never met or even spoken before. So she sent a message and said, hi. I said, hello. She said, can I have your number? I want to ask you a question. I said, okay. So I gave her my number. She called me. She said, I know that you have a lot of celebrity friends, but I don't see that you cater for a lot of celebrities. So I laughed and I said to her, how do you determine who caters for? Is it because of the pictures you see? Is it because of what the person writes? Is it because of the bios or whatever? She said, yes. I said, but you cannot do that. Everybody on social media page has a strategy and a form. My strategy and my form, when you go to my restaurant page, is to let people see the food and say, oh my God, I want to eat. So when you go there, there's no human being. That's how I work. There's no human being. I respect my clients' privacy, or if they don't want privacy, whatever it is. But my emphasis and my strategy for my page is not about showing you who I've catered for and who I haven't catered for.
And that's an important point, even just across the board, like even outside of food, in terms of showing people and respecting privacy. I find a lot of people that are trying to sell stuff. I don't know how many of them ask before they post pictures of people, you know. I mean, I think if it's food and you're trying to help people sell their product, it's fine. But sometimes people don't want someone else to know that I was at this event or whatever, you know. So it's good. I think personally that's a good thing. Yeah. Then let's get into catering, or maybe even before that, restaurant. So how you were blogging, and then you decided,
and people were asking, "No, I want to eat." Then I got this little space. Okay. But I've always loved a coffee shop, and I will always open a coffee shop. I will open a coffee shop, but I started with a coffee shop called She Brews, which means a lady who brews coffee. And everybody came in asking for jollof and what. Really? And then it turned into.
Interesting. So where was the space? How did you find it? How did you find it?
The space was located just opposite Daleks Insurance on the Ringway Estate, around Pepe's Gym. How did I finance it? I think I took a loan. I was working at that time. I took a loan of about 8,000, if I remember, and I paid for my rent, and then everything else was on me after that. And I finished it. Yeah, I did it for about 3 years. And it was one of the things that really rocketed my business. Like, it was a little space where we're churning out a lot of food. And
so that space was both She Brews and then
it was She Brews at that time.
Okay, so for 3 years.
For 3 years, yes. I was doing that. And then Mukase was still there as the blog.
Okay.
So when I left where I was and I got a bigger space, I said, you know what? Ghanaians don't read. Ghanaians don't understand what's going on. You need to synchronize the brand. And I said, let's call the restaurant the same as the blog so that people will understand what's going on. So that's when I changed it to Mukase. Okay. Yes.
So then you're running the food out of...
I was running the food, yes, Mukase.
Were you also still doing coffee?
No.
Okay.
No. So we completely changed to the anguamos, the jollof, the fried yams, the pork. We completely changed. I think that's one of the stages in the business where my core objective was defined as a business. Right. Like, I knew that I wanted to do local cuisine with my own touch.
Okay. Yeah. So then let's talk about that in the context of, this big African food is trending. It's the next big thing in food and all of that stuff. As a food blogger, I can still consider you a food blogger, right?
No, I've changed my name. I've changed it.
What are you
I'm a culinary entrepreneur.
Oh, wow. Okay. As a culinary entrepreneur. Yes. With food blogging as one of the things that you work on. Do you feel a certain sense of pressure or responsibility to present Ghanaian food in particular in an authentic way, particularly with all the sort of new hype that we have, right? Do you feel that because of all that noise, it's important for you especially to make sure that you are sort of staying true?
Okay. So this is very interesting. I've rather felt the opposite. I feel like I should present it in a gourmet. I felt that I should present it in a gourmet way. Because I think the objective of most people, with all the hype and everything, is to attract the international markets. So at a certain point in food blogging or consulting or whatever it was, I felt like I had to present it in a gourmet way.
Interesting.
But I don't feel like that anymore.
Okay.
How I feel is that we don't, for me as a Ghanaian, I think that we don't fully understand our food, the history behind the food, our spices, what we use for what, the medicinal aspects of all the things we have. we have a long way to go. And for me, it's only when I understand what I have now is when I will do a fusion. It's when I will present it in a gourmet way to an international market.
Yeah, because that was going to be my follow-up question in terms of, so African food, a trend, and then the fusion part of it, where people are trying to sort of make it appealing to international markets, so they're including like Japanese techniques or American techniques, so you're taking a step back from that.
Yes,
and it.
I am not fully against fusion, but I think that if you do a fusion, you must either keep the original taste or make it way better. I don't want a fusion that doesn't taste like anything that I remember.
I actually want to ask you, and I'm sure you've seen this, and if not, my apologies, but I want to ask you if you've seen pictures of Ikoyi.
Yes, I have seen.
What your thoughts are on their food and presentation?
I think their presentation appeals to the kind of people that they want to attract to their restaurants. I think that their textures is quite interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. However, I haven't tasted it.
Right.
So, but I've read the reviews and everything, and it seems so amazing. I mean, they won awards and watch of it. Yeah. So then again, it also takes my mind to the fact that the people who are eating from these places, are they people who already know how these things are supposed to taste? Okay. Number two, the people who are eating from these places do not know what they are eating and why we cook it the way we cook it. But apart from that,
so it's interesting, and I've had the same conversation with several people as to like what the objective of Ikoyi is, right? If it's to introduce people to Nigerian cuisine, then to that extent a fusion may be a little too much, because for someone that's coming in and is expecting pepper soup or even plantain, and they see it completely covered in this red dust thing, which looks amazing for me and all of that stuff. But if I'm being introduced to Nigerian food, like, is this the appropriate way to do so?
I rather be introduced to the original and then have a fusion later.
Exactly. So, okay, let's talk quickly about your catering. Or maybe let's talk about why you stopped the restaurant.
Okay. Well, so I stopped the restaurant because I woke up one morning and realized that this was not the dream. Yes, when I started Mukasechic, it was supposed to give you an experience of a real Ghanaian, warm place. Feel like you are almost home. The food touched that part of people. People always say, "Oh my God, your food tastes like I'm home," but there was no experience.
Okay.
With my space, with my serving. So I woke up one day and I said, "No, I need to go back. Yeah, you've made some money. You've made name. The main name is fine." But I need to go back. So going back means it's a lot of investment and what have you. And I am going to go back, but I'll go back the right way.
Okay. Yeah. That's so interesting, because the episode that just came out was talking about customer experience and creating the right experience in like dining situations. And so it's good to hear that you're thinking about that, because it sounds like, from when I spoke to Maureen, a lot of people just think about the food, right? They don't think about the entire, like the ambience, the service, and all of that stuff. So that's really good. So you decided to shut down the restaurant?
Yes, I went for the Mandela Washington Fellowship.
Yeah.
And then, I was thinking about that in one of our classes. It just kind of hits me. And I called Ghana and said, I'll close it. And that's what happened.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. I think this is a good time to take a break. And then when we come back, we'll talk everything else. We'll talk catering, we'll talk the food event company, we'll talk about the Mandela Washington experience, all of that food bank, all of that good stuff. Okay, all right, guys, we'll take a short break and we will be right back. Okay, so we're back from the break. Speaking to Jay from Mukasechic, the culinary entrepreneur. And so now I want to talk a little bit about your catering, like all of the things that you do under your entrepreneurship umbrella. So starting with catering. So you closed down the restaurant.
Yes.
I'm sure you were doing a little bit of catering while you were
Yes, I was.
But like now you're focusing fully on catering. So let's talk about that, because I find catering to be an interesting business, and I'll take Ghana specifically. So, someone grows up, they cook really well. Everybody tells them they cook great, and they decide, I'm going to cook for people. But I think that there's more to it than just cooking for people, right? You have to think about the pricing, how you're going to package it, how you're going to transport it, all of that good stuff. So how did you learn all that? Like, I think it's a thing to have, right? Because and if you don't do it well, I think it will be out there. So clearly you're doing something right. So like, how did you?
Well, I read a lot, honestly. Like, I read a lot about catering and even about restaurants. So I read about, cost, menu planning, and even setting up a table. You would come to understand that when you're planning a menu for a client, you need this amount of carbohydrates, this amount of protein, this amount of complements, and all those things. And you have to try and explain to people what a menu is and all that. So I read a lot, and I watch what people do. I ask a lot of questions if I'm allowed to. So that's how I got into catering, and it's quite interesting. It's true. A lot of people can cook. A lot of us can cook, but catering for 100 heads, 200 heads is completely different from catering for 30 people. So let me give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, we're catering for 200 people. We're making some jollof, and my assistant that I work with, she made this stew, and it was just time to put in the rice. And usually we use the stock as the water. So she put in the stock first, and she was going to put in the rice. I said to her, let me tell you something. As soon as you put in the stock and you put in the rice, the salt and spice balance, the ratio changes. So if you still think the stew tastes good and you don't taste it and you put in the rice, by the time you're done, it doesn't taste the same. That will not be the same for cooking for 30 people. So, it's I think it's about learning on the job and reading. But I love to cater for people. Like, I really love to see people eat my food, clear my plate, like ask me questions. Oh my God, what did you do? I love that. So I think maybe, I don't know if I'm a natural, but I love to cater. I really love to cater.
And then how do you find, I think I almost know the answer to this question, but how do you find clients? So if you're starting a catering business, like how do you go about finding and keeping clients?
So my biggest let's say way into brackets of finding clients, and I'm going to use my experience, not what we are supposed to do, has always been word of mouth. Like, apart from social media, it has always been word of mouth. Like, everybody who contacts me has been word of mouth. And I can say about 90% of my clients I have never met.
Really?
Yes.
How
I've
is that?
Never met. I cater.
Actually, it's possible.
Yes. So these are people that I don't know. So that's why I said earlier that when the lady asked me about celebrity, I find it quite fun. And there's one thing that I said to her, I appreciate those kind of people. When I started Mukasechic and it blew so fast, I got comments like people are like, you don't want to serve normal people, you want to serve your celebrity friends. But that was never the case. But they don't know that 90% of my clients are people I've never met. All my bookings are on WhatsApp. They don't even want to meet me. They're like, we know you just come and do what you have to do, and I go and just do what I have to do. So I think that I will not say that we've always been positive. I've had a few clients say, everything was amazing, it was just that maybe this and this happened, could you fix it the next time? Oh yeah, sure, we'll fix it. So 90% have been word of mouth, and none from family. You won't believe it, I've catered my family only once. Even that it was a small part of the party. I went to my family. My auntie had a party recently, 3-day party. The person who catered, I didn't know her. Like, she's on social media. I went, I was like, what? Yeah, that's how it is.
But that's a good point, right? Even with anything, when you're starting something, like, I think the mindset that your family or even close friends will be, like, I think people just need to sort of take that off their plate, right? Like, if you think your business is going to grow, your family and your friends will hype you and be like, go do it, they're here to support you. And I mean, they can't always be the ones who will make your business survive. No. You need to be able to remove your eyes and say, okay, you're not going to, but that's cool. Now let's talk about all the other things that I do. Let's start with, what do I want to start with? The food event company. Yes. That's, I think, because you have events coming up. Let's start with that. So, why did we decide to start the food event company?
So, it started in June last year.
Oh, it's a year old now.
Yeah, just a few months. Was it June last year, just a few months before I went for the Mandela Fellowship. And the dream of that company is to be able to curate and organize events as big and as intimate as possible for African cooks and chefs all over the continent. That's the dream. And I realized that in Ghana, people want to have master classes and they want to have like food events, pop-ups. And if you don't have the money and you don't know people who know people to give you good places, it's almost like your dream is over. Like I know people who have advertised for pop-ups and stuff and it never happened because they didn't get enough people or they didn't get a place to make it happen. So I decided that, you know what, I want to put myself in that position where I should be able to use my logistics and people that I know to make something possible for a Ghanaian chef or an African chef, someone who wants to come to Ghana and do something. I'm willing to, put the logistics together.
Okay, that's cool. So what events have you done since?
So our first event was called the Food Seminar.
Okay.
I organized a food seminar. The first one was done at Oak Plaza for culinary aspirants, if it's the right word to use, and professionals. We had about 60 people. It was an amazing seminar. And it's happening again this year.
Okay.
This year is happening hopefully at Strongcrow Academy.
Okay.
It's going to be a bit of practical and theory. So we have classes. We have a customer service retail class from Maureen.
That's important. Very.
Yes. We have a class for menu planning and budgeting from Chef Joe Wilson, who is the Vice President of the Ghana Tourism Federation.
Oh, nice.
We have a food styling class, emphasis on finger foods from Sony, if I remember that. It's a Nigerian name, so I always have to be careful before. But basically, her company is called Good Eats Nigeria. And she's flying in from Nigeria to come and teach people how to make like our kind of finger food, spring rolls, buff rolls, they call it puff puff, and how to style it to make it like look good at engagements and weddings. And then we have another food styling session from Chef Binta, who also help people, because people are on social media now and people are copying. So I just want to give people the basics and the fundamentals. You don't have to copy. Copy and add some of what you know.
Learn the basics
and add your own flair. Yeah. And then hopefully we would have a session by Anita on Sunshine Cafe. It's one of my favorite. She's my mentor, and I want to have a class for her to talk to people about how to keep your restaurants relevant. She's had her restaurant for years, and it's consistent and it's profitable, and I want people to understand that. Because for me, like I always tell people, how many of our aunties were not caterers? Where are they now? Like what happened? And I don't think that we want our businesses to go down that lane. So it's important that she comes to talk to us about that. So if you go on the Google Forms, you can take any of the classes you want to attend. It's 150 CDs.
Send out the link so that people can. I think it's important, right? I think it's important because we also do with Essence 13 similar stuff in London.
Yes.
Food photography with the idea again that you're putting your food out there. You should be able to know how to present it in a certain way. We did PR, we did content marketing. So all those things that will help you sort of be able to market your food, right? So I'm all for like training and teaching our people to be able to compete. I don't think compete is the right word, but like I think that people just don't have the tools yet. They can do it, they just don't have the tools. And so events like the seminar that you're putting together, I think will be fantastic. So you're doing the seminars with the food events, and then it's the Jollof Festival. So
we have the Jollof Festival in September, on September 1st at the Memory Lane Park. Memory Lane is right opposite Opevia. And I'm so excited about that. I am so excited. So basically, the Jollof Festival is supposed to be the biggest Jollof and Grill festival in Ghana. It was last year, and we're hoping to make it.
I know. I remember seeing it because I'm like, oh my god! I always miss. I come to Accra always at the wrong time.
Oh no, we're going to send a special invitation this time. We are. So we're going to have a festival and celebrate our jollof. I had a conversation with someone 2 days ago. He said to me, Jay, you should think about having a competition with this Nigerian. I was like, no, it's time to celebrate our jollof. Like we are done with comparing who and who did what. We have to celebrate what we have. And jollof is not just about even the rice. It's about the protein that goes with it. And there's so much that people will eat it with dried fish, pork, turkey, what have you.
Yeah.
And we just have to come together and celebrate what we
So
have.
how are you picking the vendors for the festival to make
interesting.
sure that, like, the idea that you have, it's not just anybody that's
Yes.
going to get a
It's so interesting. Like, people are sending messages saying, "Oh, how do we get the vendors done?" I'm sorry, but I'm gonna handpick every single vendor.
Right.
Like, we learn from our mistakes, and I want everybody to have an experience. And even, like, how the food is going to be served and all that, I'm going to make sure that.
Well, that's exciting.
I
I think it's
gonna be
important
fun.
to be able to curate and pick the vendors, because I spoke to these guys in Lagos, East Drink Lagos,
Yes.
and they do a festival also. And when I interviewed them, they said the same thing. So for their festival also, they are very intentional about who they choose to bring into, and it creates a certain, they're looking for a certain type of vibe and experience, and so it's not just anybody that it's good to know that that's the case.
Yeah, that's the case. And I'm taking this festival, like, as my festival, like almost like a personal festival. If I'm at home, like, how do I want it to be?
Right,
You know, I'm looking. We are looking at bringing Wolome. That's my personal favorite people.
Nice.
And people, musicians who keep the place alive, games, and we have the most competitive jollof competition.
Okay.
The king and queen of jollof.
Oh wow.
It's so competitive. It's not funny. It's so competitive. Last year, a lady won. She's also a caterer at FIO, and it was amazing. Like, she's wearing her crown. She wears her crown so well. So this year, I hope she's coming back to come and defend her crown.
That's really great, and I think these are great ways to equip local people, celebrate our own food, and do it in a great way, right? Not just. I like that you're intentional about the different components of it to make sure that it's a good experience for everybody.
I mean, and very importantly, one of my biggest addition this year is to also have a vendor who will be interested in using our local rice for jollof. This is one of the things that I picked up from a comment. Actually, I saw a comment from Gyebi, Sister Gyebi.
Okay.
It was I picked it last year, and she commented on someone's page, and I've always kept that in mind. It's quite important that we find a way to also promote what we have. So I'm looking for that vendor who makes like amazing local rice jollof.
Okay, and then I think it's the last but definitely not the least thing I think under your umbrella is the mobile food bank.
Yay!
Let's talk about that, because I know from sort of living in the US, like what food banks do for people and how, but I feel like there it's pretty much like it's the structure around, unfortunately, around homeless people and all that stuff. There's shelters and all that stuff, so they're able to link to the food banks, and there's a process. But if you're doing something like that here, where I think, how are you finding the people that you need to help? And like, maybe let's take a step back and like, why did you decide to start it, and then the process for all that?
The idea came from my experience at the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And as you learn during that process, there's so many things that you pick up. And you go through the fellowship in a country where things are working. I won't say they are working 100%, but at least they are working. And then you come back to your country where things might not be working. So you need to like tweak your plans to make it work. I did an internship at a food bank, the Oklahoma Food Bank, and it was amazing. Like, for me, I've always had the mind that if I ever gave food out to someone who was homeless, it has to be food that I can eat. It doesn't have to be food that you just throw the stew on top, and that's not my thing. So it was very interesting and comforting for me to see that the food that they made was food that they could eat. Everybody ate. The executive chef ate from there. It wasn't like food for the homeless. So when I came back to Ghana, I knew that it was time for me to start what to do. And like you said, the structure there is quite well done. I mean, they have a space where chefs come in and cook every day, and we don't have that kind of space yet. So it was important that we sit down and figure out what can we do to make it work. So my business partner and I came up with a plan that we would then identify, and it goes back to the question, how do you identify people that that's like really, really tough. Honestly, it's really tough, because sometimes you can't identify who is homeless and who needs it, who is not homeless and who needs it. But basically the plan is that people donate. The first one we did was 10 cedi a head, for us to be able to get food and give it to who needs it. So basically that's it. And we'll try and do this as many times as we can. We are also trying to get into the books for companies whose social responsibility is to do, help people, and we pitch it to them and say, we can help you do this. Interestingly enough, Chef Kiss, if you Kiss Craving, and then we've got a lot of inquiries. On my phone, I was just speaking to Andrew Bimpong, who is the CEO of Workshed, and he was just asking me about 365, like he would want to be a part of it. And Kes, who lives all the way, just said, I'm going to come to Ghana in July. I want to cook for 365. Can you just identify people for us to give the food to? So it's interesting. At the same time, it's very, I would say it's very sad for me as a person, but it's just my way of helping. I think that I want to be able to use my talents to help. I don't want to do something that I don't understand. This is what I know how to do best, and how can I use to help? And that's where it ends.
Yeah, that's really, really, really commendable, I think, and especially in a situation where you've seen how it can work seamlessly, and coming back into an environment where there are certainly more challenges in terms of putting that together, and still deciding to go ahead. And I think sometimes when you, I forget, there's a quote or a saying that when you sort of set up your mind, the universe conspires to help you get there, right? And so even with Chef Kes, with the CEO of Workshed and all of that stuff, I think it's just all part of, God's plan, if you will, of putting the things in place that you need to be able to achieve this goal. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
This is really good stuff. And you mentioned this in passing several times. It was one of the last things I wanted to cover in detail. So just to explain to people what the Mandela Washington Fellowship is, how you went through that process, what it was like, the lessons that we...
So basically, I got to know about it through Nana Boachiado, who used to work at CTFM. He said to me, he was an alumni, and he said to me that he feels like I should apply. And typical of me, I applied like an hour to deadline.
No.
Yes, I applied an hour to deadline. And the internet was not working. It was dramatic. Like, I don't know how I keep on doing all these dramatic things, but it was so dramatic, extremely dramatic. And I have had like months to do this. And I said no. And I just sat. And it's so funny. Like, usually when I write things, I write like pointers and I explain. So because I was in so much of a hurry, I didn't even clear the pointers. Like, every single thing that I wrote was on It was a shame, man. It was a shame. And I sent it, and I got emailed as a semi-finalist. We went for an interview, and I must say that Ghanaians are doing amazing things. Like, people that I met, I never even knew that they existed. I was so shaking, and I couldn't believe, oh my God. Like, what are you doing here? That was my first, like,
no.
What are you doing here? And people came, I'm not understanding myself, but I just want people to know how there are so many young people doing amazing stuff. It doesn't have to be what someone is doing, just keep on doing what you're doing. And we went through the interviews, and then some of us got selected to go for the fellowship. So from Ghana, we're 40 in number. 40 in number.
Oh, wow.
It was a total of 1,000 people from Africa.
I didn't know it was that big.
Yes.
That's an amazing. Oh, wow. I'm glad that it's that many.
Yeah. I think this year they reduced the numbers. Sometimes they increase, sometimes they reduce. But this year they reduced the numbers. And it was such an amazing experience. I was the only Ghanaian in my group. I went to Oklahoma State University. And I met some other amazing Africans. Oklahoma is an agricultural state, so it was important for me to... I studied a lot of agriculture.
How did they pick where you went and what group you were going to go?
So they have like different groups, the entrepreneurship group, civil leadership. There's 4 of them. Okay. I don't remember, but it depends on what you do. So if you go as a civil leadership participant or applicant or whatever, where should I even use? Then you go. Then they put you there. But each school has each school, each university has a focus.
Okay.
But like Oklahoma, like this, it's an agricultural university.
So that's what.
Yeah.
So that your the group that you were with, they all had some sort of.
Yes.
Okay.
We had lady farmers. We had you know.
And I think that's good, right? Because not only what you learn within the training program, but you create a network, right, of people
An amazing network. Yes.
who are doing things in your space. Right?
Yes. It was such an amazing experience. Like I met lots of people, and for the first time in my life, I came to appreciate myself as a Ghanaian. I remember having a conversation.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with some of the ladies, and they were telling me how so they'll say that they'll say this, they'll see me and say, "Oh my God, like look at your hair or look at what you're wearing." I'm like, And they're like, you can't dress like this in my country. Like you can't, if you have to apply for passports or like you have to go and see a chief. I'm like, like this doesn't happen in Ghana. And I was so glad to introduce our cuisine to them. We in our school we put ourselves into groups.
Okay.
So we would cook like every night, and it was like my group, everybody wanted to be cooking. And our lecturer would just email everybody about this Ghanaian chef. You need to meet her, she needs to cook for you. I introduced them to fufu and jollof and everything else. It was such an...
Wait, how did you make fufu in Oklahoma? Okay.
There was an African shop. So, we made that in catering and all those things. Yeah.
Nice.
It was pretty nice.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And so then, you went through a training program and all that stuff, and you were inspired to come back and do
Yes, I was inspired to make what I had done wrong right. That started...
That's why you called it, said restaurant shut down now.
Yes. I was inspired to... I must add that coming back from the fellowship to what I am now has been like such an interesting process. I came back ready to do a lot of things, and I went through like a couple of months of depression and losing interest for food. It was such an interesting change, and this is something that we've even been discussing with the embassy, that they have to have a look at it. You go to a country where everything works, and it's like when I come back, I'm going to do amazing stuff, and then you get to your country and you realize that, oh crap, it will take a longer time. So if you're not frustrated, you might go into something else. So I lost a couple of months of not wanting to cook anymore, and then I came back out of this. This has probably been my happiest period.
I saw you today, and I was like, she's looking good and happy.
This has been my happiest. I love what I do now. I think I've found like a new interest for it, and it's also because of all the other things. Before I knew that I wanted to do them, but I was like, there's no time. Right. There's indeed no time, so you must as well do what you have to do. Yeah.
And so I want to go back to the embassy and sort of that transitional orientation back into the local space. So have they talked about any sort of reintegration programs?
Yeah,
ways to keep you in touch and keep you continuously motivated?
Even in the orientation, they give a thorough orientation of what you expect and what you must do when you come back, about expectations. But I think that as human beings, we don't. It's a different feeling to experiencing it and to hearing it. So they are still working on it. But when you come back, there are quite a number of programs that you can also apply to, which will enhance your interest in what you already do, and also spark up new interest if you want to do something else. So there are lots of programs. They have a program where you can apply and invite one of your professors from university to come and see the products you're doing. There's another program where you can work with another fellow from another country, which is for the collaborative fund. Okay. There's another program where you can also apply for grant.
Okay.
So
that's good. That's good that they're keeping you guys motivated through different sorts
of... they are.
And if they're trying.
They're trying. They're trying. I mean, apart from all the plenty emails, but they're trying.
Okay, so then what's next for Mukasechic? You've done all this amazing stuff. Like when you look down a year from now, 5 years from now, like what's the big vision?
What's the big vision? What do I even say? I'm in a rebranding phase. I'm in a phase where I want each of my setups and my interactions with people to make an impact. I'm literally, I am at the mood where everything should make an impact. Well, make money and make an impact. Okay. So everything that I do, I take extra care. Like I said, our aunties were cooking for a while and they are no more there. If Mukasechic has to be there a year from now, it still has to make an impact. It's not just about relevance. It's not just about profit making. And I want to be able to create the experience that it has been that I've always wanted to create from day one. I want you to be able to bring your friends from South Africa and say, go to Mukasechic, and you'll get that experience. But there should be growth. So basically, I'm not going to pinpoint and say, I'm going to open a restaurant. I'm going to, as someone will say, been there, done that. And so everything that I must do must go towards making an impact for other people. And most importantly, one of the things that I would also want to do is to do a lot more speaking engagements to young people who want to be in the industry. Like, it's not just about being a dropout. Like that's not what it means. I'm a university graduate with
that's right. And it's sad because I think I also spoke to somebody about this, how undervalued some sort of courses are in Ghana in particular. I can't speak for the whole continent, but in Ghana in particular, where people are forced to go, or not forced, but maybe they are conditioned to think that you have to be in science in particular, or like be a lawyer, or be whatever, because that sort of makes you a more
look better.
Exactly. So I think it's a good time to be something other than. I think of people in food, people doing makeup, photographers, all of that stuff. I think it's great that people are seeing, like young people now are seeing alternative paths to doing stuff, and that doesn't necessarily have to be medicine, guys. You don't have to go and do pre-med.
And also, I just want to say this, that people need to understand that it's an industry of food, but there's so much into there are food scientists, there are food consultants, there are stylists, there's so much. Like, it's not just about cooking because you think Mukasechic is making money, so the next moment you open an Instagram page and you're cooking. There's so much to it. Like, there's food health and safety. There is so much, and it's about time that we start reading and researching and understanding what we want to go into. And I think that when we understand that, we will all choose which path, and in the end, we all help each other, so.
Good stuff. So before we transition to the rapid fire questions, let's tell people where they can find you online and social media, especially people who are not from Ghana, so that they can find you.
Okay, so I'll start with the blog. The blog is still mukasechic.wordpress.com. Okay. Still the same. If you're on any of the platforms, Instagram, Mukasechic, Twitter, Mukasechic, Facebook, Mukasechic. You can also send us an email, mukasechic@gmail.com, or all the platforms have my number. So, and it's a direct number to me.
Okay.
Because
that's good, eh?
Yes. I like to interact with my customers directly before I hand them over to anybody. So it's a direct number to me. You can even drop in some love proposals.
Okay, good stuff. All right, now let's transition to rapid fire. We're just talking about social media. Okay. The first question for you is Instagram or Twitter?
Oh my god! A couple of months ago, I said Instagram, but I'm loving Twitter these days. So maybe Twitter. Okay. They are savage, man.
Yeah, Twitter is like, I just go and I watch. Like, I don't even try to comment on anybody's thing before I'm dragged into something that I'm not ready to. I'm just there, just an observer. Okay, Twitter. Buffet or a la carte?
A la carte.
Swallow or rice?
Swallow.
I know you didn't want to compare, but Niger jollof or Ghana jollof?
Ghana jollof.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Ooh. Depends on my mood, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Okay. Morning person or night person?
Ooh. I don't even know.
I think you're a night person. Why? Because I see videos of it like up at 1 a.m. I'm like, people should be sleeping at 1 a.m.
I forget that it's 1 a.m. I'm calling people. They're like, why are you calling me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You are
Yeah,
I am. I really am.
Who's your dream chef to cook with?
Oh my God. Do I even know? I think it probably might be Barefoot Contessa.
Oh really?
Yes. I like her calmness in the kitchen. I don't like to fret in the kitchen, so I like her calmness in the kitchen.
Yeah, we're putting it out there.
Yes.
Barefoot Contessa's people.
Yes.
To get in touch. When you're feeling lazy, what do you like to cook?
Oh wow. When I'm feeling lazy.
Yeah. Like what's easy and quick for you?
Oh my god. What do I do? Maybe like soup.
Okay.
Like
Ghanaian soup. Isn't that a lot of work?
I'm a queen of shortcuts.
Okay, you can say that. Okay.
So yeah, maybe like soup.
Okay.
I think it's quite fast.
Okay. And then if you could live on one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Cocoa and beans.
Actually, you know what? That might be it for me also.
Really?
Yeah.
You see?
That might be it for me also.
Cocoa and beans.
And then outside of Mukasechic, what's your favorite African restaurant and why?
Wow, in Ghana?
Anyway, it doesn't have to be Ghana.
Yeesh. What would that be? I think I like Asmera.
Asmera, yeah.
I like Asmera.
The variety.
I like the variety. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's the end of our rapid fire.
So sorry.
And of the interview. This was such a pleasure to talk to you and learn so much from you.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything, and you have a lot going on. And I am actually so proud of you and like all the Ghanaian women, especially, that I think are just like killing it in the food business and like not taking any prisoners, just going out there doing their thing. Yeah. And it's so inspiring to see and hear from you. So I'm sure people will be inspired and hopefully will take advantage of all the services and events and stuff that you're offering out there.
Thank you.
This was great.
I'm also very proud of you. I know how long you've been at this, and you're very consistent, and you keep on, trying to promote each and everything that we do. And now that I'm also in that kind of space, I know how difficult it can be. So, thank you so much.
This was great.
Yay!
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Item 13, an Essence 13 production. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. To keep up to date on news and events from Essence 13, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Essence and the number 13. Thank you.